Hey everyone, I'm Felipe Schmidt. In today's video, we are going to talk about the localization framework in ServiceNow. With this tool, you're going to be able to speed up translations in ServiceNow for different kinds of objects. So we are going to discuss and go step by step so that you are going to be able to create those translations side by side. Before we start, it's important to understand what is the localization framework and how you can find it. So if you type localization framework in the filter navigator in ServiceNow, you're going to find the application and its modules. And the most important ones here are the settings and the artifacts configurations that we are going to focus today. With that, you're going to be able to create the basics for those translations. If we go to artifacts, we are going to see this table here that contains lots of processor scripts in behind which are responsible for sweeping all the tables and all the objects in regards to a specific table. For example, for catalog items, we will have a processor script that the processor script is going through the variables, the variable sets, and any kind of content to translate the catalog item. The same for knowledge, for surveys, and to-dos configurations in Employee Center, and this kind of content. I'm not going into too many details about these processor scripts because here it's important to understand if you need something that is not available in here, you need to check if there is a plugin that might contain already some code that you can reuse instead of creating that from scratch. So first you check here. If it doesn't contain, then you should look for it instead of creating everything step by step. But it's important also to highlight that these script includes, they contain some common APIs that you can simply call so that those translations are simply used with that keys. I will show an example here so that you can understand a little bit better what I say. This is the catalog item processor, and it contains and it calls this API here, localization framework, catalog document content builder. And also if you scroll down a little bit, you have localization framework, artifact processor, SNC. These are predefined libraries that you can reuse to create your own script include. These are only a few examples. So based on that, this is how the localization framework will work in the background. It will sweep for all the content to be translatable in some objects. And to be able to create translations, you need to set up settings. And these settings here, you are going to be able to define, for example, if there is some kind of workflow that should be followed in terms of approvals for your translations, or if it should be auto-published as soon as a translation is available, that this is going to be auto-published. And this is the settings. And how does it look like? So if you go to SC catalog item table, that's going to be one of our examples today, and you want to translate a catalog item, you have these request translations here at the top. And if you click in here, you have the German language here, which is blocked for the moment because we don't have any settings for specific catalog items. That's what we're going to do next. And this is how you should extend this functionality and use in ServiceNow. Whenever you click in here and submit, then you're going to have some requested items that are going to be created in ServiceNow for you for a specific group or a team to be created. Well, let's do an example with that. We're going to translate a catalog item. And how do we start with that? First of all, we have seen that there is an artifact available for catalog items, and this is here. So there is a processor script in the background that will sweep and do everything that we need. So we don't need to create a specific artifact for catalog items. Second step is then we need to create a setting for our catalog item translation in which we create new, and then we are going to create something very specific. In here, we're going to select the catalog item, that is the artifact that we want, and all the languages that come along and are auto-populated based on this artifact in here. Then you have this tab here that we're not going to focus today, but you can enable some machine translations in order to have some automated translations with some APIs, with some other systems that they can deliver to you those translations. So nobody needs to take care about those translations manually, for example. Then you have the workflow preferences. And here is exactly the workflow itself, that you might have translation and publish, translation and you will have an approval, and then auto publish or auto translation and publish, etc. You can decide what fits best in your business case itself. We're going to leave it translation publish for now. And for localization fulfiller group here, it's important to highlight that for this group, they must have a localization fulfiller role. Otherwise, this won't work. And in our example, we're simply giving for this analyst group here, this role so that we can make our end-to-end testing successful. Okay, so now we have our settings created. And this means that whenever we go now to the catalog item and we just refresh the page, now the button is not locked anymore. Means that we can request a translation, the German translation for this specific catalog item. And as I said, if you click on submit, then you're going to get a message successfully translated. And if you click in here, you're going to have this specific localization requested item task in which you are going to be able to document everything related to those translations. The most important part comes within this LF task here. So if we look for it, and we go inside, is this task is going to be assigned to this specific group that we set in the workflow itself. So they are responsible for translating this specific content. And then the state is going to be ready for translation so that the group and the person assigned can start the translation. And this is the result. You will have side by side what is the English content and what is the target language, in our case German, so that you can always translate and do and save as a draft, step by step translating your content in ServiceNow. After you're done, you can simply, so for example, you can just write down something here and then here as well and save as draft. And this specific scenario, you have the published translations because in this artifact for catalog items, we have set to publish the translations. Means that whenever you publish it, this is going to translate your catalog item directly. With that, we have just created a workflow for translations in ServiceNow. Easy, right? So we are not going to focus on those very small details, because here I'm showing you the basics so that you are able to deep dive a little bit more in terms of if you want to create an API to create automated translations and stuff like this. But with that, you are able to create, for example, already translations for catalog items, and a specific group is going to be able to review those translations. Now we are going to deep dive a little bit more in some specific content that I have looked for that is an artifact for specific content in the employee center itself, in the portals. And this is always a big deal whenever we want to create something in ServiceNow. And I have found an article in the community based on a ServiceNow employee that he has created a script that sweeps all the necessary information that it needs to be translated in the portals itself. Basically, he, in this community article that is going to be available in the description of this video, you are going to be able to find specific information. For example, the script include that I mentioned that simply is going to be used to sweep all the necessary objects, keys, and everything that is related to the translations of the Employee Center or any other portal. As an example, we are going to do that. So the artifact is not available in ServiceNow. So now what we are going to do, we are going to create this specific artifact. And here, what we need to do, if you click on new, we are going to create our artifact. And I have already prepared and I have created and copied this script include in here. This is all I have done together with the UI action creation, the request translations. But I'm going to show you in any case so that you don't miss any step. So in here, for example, we are going to do, and we are going to create ITSM group as an example and portal artifact, missing a T. And here SP Portal is going to be our internal name, because the table and all this information here, it's shown in that community article that is in there. And this is our script include. And whenever we save it, then we have already our artifact with that script include. So I'm just going to click here so that you can see how it looks like, exactly how is it described in the community article. And you have all the code in here. This is our artifact. Now we need to create the settings so that we are able to translate a portal itself. And in here, we are going to create our portal translation that is going to use our portal artifact. Translation preferences we are not going to touch, and here we are also going to use the analyst group that is responsible to take care about those translations. Now we have our setting created. Next step is, if I go to portal in the service portals here, this is our table. As you see, SP Portal is exactly the table that we have created the artifact itself. And if you go to Employee Center, you're going to see that we already have the request translations. This UI action I needed to create manually myself so that we are able to click here and all the translations are going to be created. So only as a matter of showing you how it looks like, if you click here on Edit UI action, you're going to be redirected to this UI action itself. And you can use one of the existing UI actions so that you can simply insert and stay instead of clicking everything. So I'm going to show to you what I mean. If you see, there are some tables that are pre-configured with this request translation, and you can pick up, for example, a CCAT item. And then you can do your modifications in there and simply click insert and stay, so that you're going to have in the end your specific UI action for the SP Portal page. But of course you have to pay attention in here in the catalog item and also here in the condition itself, so that you replace exactly as it's described here in the community article itself. So if you scroll a little bit down here, it says how your UI action should look like. Well, now that we have created the UI action that is available in here, we have created the artifact and we have created the settings. Everything that we can do right now is to request the translations for these specific Employee Center artifacts or objects that are in the Employee Center. And after we click in there, it's going to take a little bit because there are a lot of objects that needs to be translated. In the meantime, you can grab a coffee and just wait a little bit for it. Well, we have it. Successfully requested translations. And if you click, you're going to be redirected. This is our document that is going to be translated. And if you open here, then you can look for this task in the global search. And then you have, as soon as you click translate, then is the magic where it happens. And you're going to see that it's huge. So you have in total of almost 4.2 thousand keys found in order to do these translations. As you see, most of them, they are already translated, and you can simply click in this padlock here to unlock this unlock field, and then you can do your changes in here. After you're done, you can simply lock again. But this here is only so that you can easily see what is missing. So everything that is blank is missing, and then you need to manually translate, or you can simply ignore those, or you can always save as a draft and publish the translations as you go. You don't need to do everything at once, you know? And this is the most important thing. With that, I hope that it was very helpful for you to go ahead and to create the translations in ServiceNow. If you have any suggestion, any comments, please let us know in the comments section down below. I hope you have fun with that, enjoy, and we keep in touch.